All right, let's now take a look at the Obsidian Web Clipper. So as I said, it's a solution that I intend to switch to in the near future. Basically, it's very comparable to Readwise when it comes to curating information, consuming and capturing highlights. The advantage of the Obsidian Web Clipper is that it's free software, it's free and open source. It was created by the Obsidian team and in particular the CEO of Obsidian, Stefan. And the nice thing about the Obsidian Web Clipper is that it's supported in many browsers and it has deep AI integration, meaning that you can use AI to transform the information that you capture using it. Another benefit of the Obsidian Web Clipper is that it can directly save everything that you capture right into your Obsidian vault. So if you are using Obsidian, then it's a perfect solution. But in addition, you can also save the content that you highlight and capture to markdown files instead. All right, let's dive in. If you go to the official website of the Obsidian Web Clipper, you can find more information about what it can do. From here, you can see that you can use it to easily capture pages and metadata. So not only can you capture the whole content of a page and the associated metadata, so the title, description, source, add tags, when it was published, the author, etc. But you can also capture highlights. So you can capture parts of the page, just like Readwise allowed. And using that, you can actually save the parts of the page that you are interested in, that you find value in. And those things that you capture, you can add them directly to Obsidian, which is quite easy to do. Other benefits include the fact that it stays private. So when you use that extension, so it's a browser extension, everything that you do using it is applied locally and it's never saved in the cloud on a platform that you don't control or that you don't own. You can capture information locally and save it locally inside of your Obsidian vault if you are using that. But there's no lock-in. So actually you can also save everything that you capture, so the highlights, either as JSON or as Markdown, meaning that you can then use those files any way you want and integrate the content in various tools and platforms. To install it, you just go to the official website and you click on this button here. It's already installed in my browser, so I don't need to do that now. But if you are using a different web browser, then you can see that they have support for many other ones. And once it's installed, you will get this icon. Again, if you don't see it, you just go in there and you have to pin the correct extension. And once it's done, you can click on this button to capture information. Let's take a look at how the extension works. So when you have this icon right here, you can click on it. And as you can see here, what it did is it used a template to capture the information. And it already noticed that the page title is this, and it captured it inside of the properties. It knows the web page that is being used to capture the information, who the author is. You have the creation and publication date, the description, the tags that will be added, and also the content of the page. So here, since I just clicked on the button, I get the whole content of the page captured. And from there, I can directly save the information to Obsidian and it will be stored in this folder. So we will see how this is configured. So this article template, but for now, let's just click on this button here. And if I add it to Obsidian, you can see that I end up with a note stored in the right folder. So for me, 39 highlights and articles, and it has the title corresponding to the title of the page and added the author name. Also, I have my metadata that was captured and the content of the whole page. So if you want to capture only parts of a web page, so capture highlights, what you can do is click on the Obsidian Web Clipper icon and then enable the highlighter mode. And so once the highlighter mode is enabled, you can see those yellow blocks appearing. And from there, what you can do is either click to select one of the blocks or just click and drag and drop to select subparts. Once that's done, we can see that we have two highlighted parts, and those are the ones that are going to be captured instead of the whole page. And so you can continue doing this to select the different parts that you want. And once you are done consuming and capturing the information you want, you can click on Clip Highlights. And once you do that, you will actually get the same as before. So it captures the page title and the metadata that you defined in the template. We will see that later. But inside here, you can see that the content only corresponds to the parts that I have selected. Nothing more, nothing less. And again, I can now click on Add to Obsidian to save it to an Obsidian node that will be called this with the author name. Or I can click on this icon there to save the file locally to Markdown or to copy it to the clipboard. If I save it to Markdown, you will see that it contains the information that we have captured. So in this case, I have the metadata and the content that I selected in the page. All right, let's dive a bit deeper. So if you click on the Obsidian Web Clipper icon, right click on it and click on Options, you will get to this screen. And here you can configure the way the tool works. First, you can choose, if you are using Obsidian, to either save the captured information inside of the currently open vault, or you can use the name of a vault. In this case, you can actually select multiple ones. You could have one vault for work, one personal vault, and you would be able to save to all of those if you want. Then you can configure different hotkeys. So one to clip information, toggle a highlighter, or a reading view. And inside of the behavior here, you can choose to either save by default to Obsidian or by default to copy to the clipboard or save to file. In my case, I'm going to save all of the highlights and pages to Obsidian directly. Next, when you want to capture information, as I said, you can capture metadata. On this property settings, you can choose all of the properties that you are interested in. And you can import and export those, add new ones, or delete the ones that you don't care about. And you can use these templating entries to configure exactly how the information is going to be extracted from the page. You can also configure the highlighter and export all of the highlights that you have captured using the extension. You can choose to either always show the highlight or not when you are on a page that you captured information from. Next, you have the interpreter. I will come back to this one a bit later. And then most importantly here, you have the templates. So the templates are the engines or the rules that will be used to capture information. In my case right now, I only have two templates, one for articles and one for YouTube videos. And let's dive into those. If we look at the article template, first we have the behavior. So in this case, it's going to create a new node in my Obsidian vault, but you can also choose to add to existing nodes at the bottom, at the top, add to your daily notes, which is really nice because you can capture content inside of your daily notes. And as I said, it's a great way to organize content that you capture and to have a single point of entry for your knowledge. It's an option that I'm considering. I think that I will be using this. Then you can choose how the note name will be determined. So in my case, I'm using the title of the page, a dash, and then the author of the page. You can also choose by default where the highlighted and captured content will be stored. So in my case, it's going to 30 areas, 39 highlights and articles. You can also choose one of the vaults that you have configured in the general settings. And you can have template triggers. So those are rules that will help the extension determine when to activate or use this specific template. And so you could have templates that only apply or that apply by default for certain addresses. In the case of my YouTube template, you can see that it tries to detect youtube.com/watch. And if that's part of the address of the page that you are looking at and try to capture information, then this template will be used. Then you have the properties. So these are the ones that will be added to the notes that you capture using this extension. When I export highlights and captured pages to Obsidian using this template, these are the properties that will be added to the created notes or to the created Markdown files if you are using that. And so in this case, I'm going to have a title property, a source property, etc. And importantly for me, a text property, which is going to add my type tag, so type highlight, as well as a tag that defines this precise highlight type. And you could add more metadata properties that will be added to the nodes that you save. And last but not least, the node content, it's the actual content of the node that will be created. And in this case, I just have this heading content and I insert the content. Let's now take a look at the YouTube template. So in the case of the YouTube template, you can see that it goes into the same folder, but in a subfolder called videos. It only triggers when we visit YouTube. It adds those properties to the notes. So if you want to capture a video, we just have to click on the icon. And since youtube.com is part of the address, it used the right template. And again, it captured the title of the video, some properties that will be added to the extracted note, and it added some content to the note. And so in this case, I have one section with the title of the video and one section with the video description. And as you can see, it did capture the right content there. This is all based on the templates that we have created. And if I click on Add to the Obsidian, it will again create a note in my system with the metadata that I wanted. So in this case, type highlights and highlights/video. I have a link here to the video and it's embedded, so I can play it from there. I have the description of the video and that's that. So if we want to customize the information that is being captured, in this case for YouTube videos, you can change the properties as we saw before, but you can also, of course, change the structure of the notes that will be created. So here I have a section called title with an embedded video using the name of the video and the address, and then a section about the description with the description of the video. And then those tags you can use to add more information. And so I could also insert here, for instance, the schema author to have the author of that video. So I could have it here. And I can organize this any way I want. And if I go back to the video and capture it again, you can see below, or on top rather, that I have the author of the video added. And so you have full control over the templates that you are using. One great thing about those templates is that you can actually not only create additional ones manually yourself, but you can also leverage the templates that were created by the community. So I have here 2 pages open, and I will link to those in the course resources. But these are repositories where you can find additional templates that were created by the Obsidian community. And so if we go to this templates folder, you can see that there are a number of templates that we can reuse. In this case, I'm going to showcase one for GitHub repos. I'm going to see how it works. And what you have to do once it's open, so these templates are JSON files, you need to download the raw file. So you click on this button, you save that on your computer. And now that it's done, we are going to actually create a new template here. So if you want to import an existing template, you can just go here and click on import. And then you select the template that you've downloaded. So in this case, I'm going to use the GitHub repo Web Clipper. So now that the template has been imported, I can customize it. So first, I'm going to change the note location. So I want to save this inside of my highlights folder and inside a GitHub subfolder. I'm going to use the default vault. I have customized this rule to make sure that this template is automatically applied when we are on GitHub, and it's going to capture some metadata and the content of the README. Let's give it a try. If I go here and click, it's detected that we are on GitHub, so it applies the right template. It will capture this information, and as you can see, the note will contain the contents of the README that is here below. So now if I click here, I get my new note with the correct title, the metadata, and the content of the README file. Now here, notice that it used and applied different tags. Those are not the ones that I want, so I need to customize those. And so if we go back to the template, I can customize it a bit. And instead of using those tags, I don't want the tags of the repo, I just want my own. And so I'm going to use type/highlights and highlights/GitHub in this case. So if you go to this other repository, so this is one of the repositories of Clipano, the CEO of Obsidian, and you can see that he has also shared a number of templates. So a few of those are of interest to me. So you have one for research papers, one for Goodreads, for books. That's interesting. One for IMDb. And actually, I'm going to install this one because I think that I'm going to use it. And you have also one for Wikipedia, which is nice. So again, let's go there, download the raw file. Here, same thing. And so you can see that the process of downloading and using templates is not that complicated. It's a bit technical, but I think that it's still manageable. I'm going to add the Goodreads Clipper template. I'm going to create a new folder here for books where I can track the books that I've captured. So it will be called Goodreads. I'm going to save that not there, but inside of books. It will apply this template if we are on the Goodreads website /books or on a specific book, I suppose. We capture some information about the book, which is nice. So we have the title, the author, the genre, the length, the year, the rating, the cover. Yeah, that seems good. Again, I'm going to reuse my own tags. And I write books. In this case, it's not going to be highlighted, but that doesn't matter. And it's going to apparently capture inside of the page metadata, the description of the book. All right, let's capture a book from Goodreads. So here, let's click on this icon again. It uses the right template. I have the title of the book and the description of the book, and it will be saved to my highlight/books subfolder. So it seems quite good. I mean, it's not perfect. So I think these are still the early days, but at least I have a way now to capture information from different pages. Let's now take a look at the AI features of the Obsidian Web Clipper. So to me, those are the most interesting ones. And actually, if you go here to the interpreter settings, you can see that we have this interpreter feature that we can enable. And once that's enabled, we can use template variables such as this one, so natural language syntax, to describe what AI should do with the content that is being captured. And so if I add this to one of my templates, and I've configured this, so we will go back to this in a second. So let's add this to the article template. Let's suppose that I want to capture the point summary. And here I can add just one section. And here I can type anything I want, so describe exactly what I want to capture. And so I could say, for instance, the 10 key points of the article. Could even say bullet list with the 10 key points of the article. And so this is going to instruct the Obsidian Web Clipper to use AI to interpret the content and analyze it and generate the output that I want. So in this case, a bullet list with the 10 key points of the capture article. And let's try it out. So here, let's suppose that I'm reading this article. Let's capture, it's not Goodreads, but an article. And you can see that my expression here is still as is. And if I click here on the interpret button, it's going to detect this variable and it's going to use AI to interpret it. So in this case, using Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Now it's thinking. So basically it's calling the AI, providing it with the content that was captured. And now the variable that I had has been replaced by actual content. And if I add this to Obsidian, you can see that it's not the template variable, but it was interpolated with the help of AI. And actually, this is, I think, correct. It's a summary of the whole article in 10 key points, which is quite great, actually. And that's my favorite feature about the Obsidian Web Clipper. This means that just using natural language, you can actually use AI to extract information in various ways. So here I asked for the 10 key points, but I could have asked for a management summary, for a translation, for one sentence, for whatever. And AI is quite powerful these days. So this is really a powerful feature. So let's now take a look at the configuration of the interpreter. If you go to the interpreter settings, first, you can enable or disable it. You can choose to automatically run AI to interpret the natural language variables that you have in your templates. But of course, don't forget that this is not going to be free in most cases. So pay attention. In my case, I prefer to run it manually. Then you have the providers. Those are the AI providers that you want to use. In my case, I'm using OpenRouter. So it's a platform from which you can use different AI models. So here you can see that it has DeepSeek, it has OpenAI, Claude is in there. I mean, the most popular ones are available. And the nice thing is that you have a single place where you pay, so OpenRouter, and using OpenRouter in different tools. So Obsidian Web Clipper is not the only possible client. You can use it from various places. Then you can use all of those different AI models easily. Which is quite nice because it removes the burden of having many AI providers and having to set up billing and payments for all of those separately. We can do it only once in OpenRouter and use OpenRouter in different tools. So if you want to add a new provider, then you just come here and click on Add Provider. Then you select the one that you are using. So if you are using, for instance, OpenAI, and you should leave this by default, but then you should add your API key, and here you can click to get it. Once it's been added, you click on Save, and the provider will be added to the list. So that's one step. The second step is configuring the models, so the AI models that you want to use. By default, there are a number of models that are pre-configured, but you can also add new ones. In this case, I'm using Claude 3.7 through the OpenRouter provider, but you can also use any other ones that you want. So if I wanted, for instance, to use GPT-4o, we can edit it. You have to select the provider. So you would select here OpenAI. In my case, I'm going to use OpenRouter. And then you need the model ID. Then you have to copy the ID of the model and you have to paste it there. Now it depends on the providers that you are using. So there's not a single way to do this. You will have to search for your own case. But now I have configured GPT-4o and I can enable it. And this means that if I go back to my page, select my article template again, actually here I can select the AI model I want to use. So I'm not forced to always use the same. In this case, I could ask GPT-4o to interpret the content for me. So using these variables and interpreting those. And so as you can see, thanks to the fact that I'm using OpenRouter, I can use different AI models easily, but you can also pay and use those separately if you prefer. But the end result is the same. I get my list of key points extracted using AI, and then I can save this inside of Obsidian. And so you can configure as many models as you want, and you can enable as many as you want. So now taking a look at the documentation of the Obsidian Web Clipper, I will also link to it in the course resources. Now, one thing that I want to discuss a bit is the templates and the variables. So you saw that inside of the node content part or inside of the properties, you could use variables. If you take a look at the documentation, you will see that there are many more than what we have seen. So there are more advanced ways to use variables and extract information from pages. I'm not going to cover those because this is quite technical, but you can actually capture a ton of information using this. If we go even deeper, there are filters that you can use. So not only can you capture some fields, such as the title of the page, but if you use this pipe element, then you can use a filter. And actually you have filters to process date. So let's say that you want to capture the publication date of some page, then you would use date. And then if you pipe this with the date filter, then you can select the format in which you want to see the date. And so you have control over how the information is being processed. There are actually many filters that you can use. So you can play with dates, with durations. You can convert and capitalize text. So if you have a sentence like this, you can turn it into something like this instead, or something like this, or all in lowercase or in Pascal case. You can replace certain characters by other ones. I mean, you have a lot of control, and it's not something that we will go into detail. But just know that you have this power at your disposal if you want to really customize the way information is captured. So hopefully now you have a good idea about what you can do using the Obsidian Web Clipper. For something that is free and open source, I find it incredibly powerful. You can customize basically everything. You can create your own templates. You can leverage AI in different ways when capturing information. And you can insert and export the information anywhere you want. And if you're using Obsidian, then it's really easy to curate content right into your Obsidian Vault. So you can approach this in two ways. So either capture the complete page. So if you don't want to consume it right away, and so you will have it in Obsidian forever, but you can also use the highlighter and capture specific parts and post-process those using AI. And I think that this is really, really cool. So it's not a complete replacement for Readwise, because Readwise has this AI feature that you can use to discuss with your highlights. But actually, once you have exported your highlights to Obsidian using the Web Clipper or to any other PKM tool, you can actually do the same using different means. You don't need Readwise to chat with your notes and highlights. You can use different means to do the same thing.